Hey everybody, welcome to What About the Game. Today I'm going to be talking about Garou, Mark of the Wolves. Of the countless fighting games that grace the Neo Geo, there are only a handful that get mentioned time after time as being the greatest. King of Fighters 98 is often mentioned, as are Samurai Showdown 2 and 4. Another is Garou, Mark of the Wolves, often considered to be Fatal Fury 4. Full of mostly new characters aside from series staple Terry Bogard, it's easy to see why the Fatal Fury name is often missing from the title. Indeed, the most famous two-lane aspect of Fatal Fury series is also missing. Instead, you have a more basic 1v1 fighter. Basic, but awesome. One of the main aspects of Mark of the Wolves is the TOP system, top, which is where you choose a third of your health bar to act as sort of an overdrive mode. When your health enters that section, it will activate, giving you an increased attack power, access to a powerful special move, and even recover health. You can choose to be in overdrive mode right from the beginning of battle, or right when you're on your last drops of health, or even somewhere in the middle. I'm not sure how tactically it is overall, but personally I enjoyed having it right from the off, to get in as much damage as possible quickly. As far as controls go, it's pretty standard when it comes to fighters. Of the 4 buttons, 2 are for punching and 2 are for kicking, each with different strengths. There are special moves too, which are easily pulled off, often using the quarter rotation plus button input. You'll quickly figure out a couple just by playing in the first fight. There are 12 quite different fighters to choose from, and their story takes place over 8 battles. Each character has a unique dialogue between the other fighters, although it is really quite minimalistic. What cutscenes there are, I think they are nicely done, even though some of the English is questionable at best. The first couple of fights are pretty manageable and easily won. That puts you in a false sense of security though, as if you're a player of my meager button mashing skills, the third opponent will turn the heat up and destroy you. An interesting feature of Garou is the ability to modify the game if you add a credit to continue it. You can choose from having max power, lowering the difficulty, having your enemy only have a quarter of their normal health, or just manning up and choosing to go on with the game being unaltered. Personally, I found lowering the difficulty the best option, as it brings every fighter back down to the same level as the first couple of fights. This ability made me less inclined to lower the difficulty of the game overall. In fact, I stayed on level 4 throughout my playing time. I think this is a sign of just how accessible Mark of the Wolves is. Couple it with the fairly simple and responsive special moves, you've got yourself a game that is great for casuals and hardcore gamers. Unlike many arcade fighters, you can actually go and see the end, as long as you put in a few credits. It will please the hardcore gamers thanks to the depth under the hood. There are breakable moves, a multitude of dodges, as well as the power gauge, which has 2 levels, super and potential, each of which grants you access to another special move. They're not difficult to pull off, but it's keeping it in mind and knowing when to use it that takes the skill. There's local 1v1 multiplayer, perfect for the Switch's Joy-Cons, but sadly, as a direct port of the original arcade game, no online play. Yes, it is a missed opportunity, but not one to dwell on for me personally. Being on the later end of Neo Geo releases, Mark of the Wolves is naturally a gorgeous game. From the generously animated character sprites to the detailed and wonderful backgrounds, it's really a game to admire visually. Musically, it's great too. Each character has their own theme song, some of which sound oddly familiar too. Almost a straight rip-off of famous songs, allegedly. Nonetheless, all the tracks suit their characters well. The Asian-inspired fighters have Asian influences, the Americans have rock music and so on. As with all Hamster Arcade Archive series, there are plenty of options to customize your gaming experience, right down to the timer on the fights, the button configuration, screen size, filters and so on. Once again, they've done an excellent job with the port. You can choose from the Japanese version or the international release, as well as the 2 new modes, High Score and Caravan Mode. They are in every Arcade Archive series, but they really don't suit a fighting game at all. High Score is the one that may suit it a little more, where you have 1 credit to get the highest score possible. Not that fighting games are about scores, and the Caravan Mode is pretty much useless, as it gives you just 5 minutes to get a high score. Despite these slightly superfluous extra modes, it's difficult not to recommend Garou Mark of the Wolves. It's an excellent, fun fighting game that's fit for casual players or hardcore players alike. It may not have online play or any other modes outside the arcade mode and 1v1 multiplayer, but I think that's enough to give you some accessible fighting goodness that looks and sounds great. Okay guys, if you've enjoyed this video then be sure to like and subscribe, that will help me out. You can read the full review of Garou Mark of the Wolves at whataboutthegame.com, and you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter if you want to. All the links are below. Thanks guys, bye bye.